beer, wine, whiskey, and most of them think drinking is a modern problem. It's not. Your ancestors were probably intoxicated long before civilization existed. In fact, some scientists believe alcohol helped create civilization itself. Not metaphorically, literally. Beer may be older than bread. And the strangest part? Your brain may have evolved specifically to crave alcohol millions of years before humans invented brewing, which means the feeling you get after a drink could be ancient, older than farming, older than history, possibly older than humanity itself. And once you understand this story, human evolution starts looking very different, because ancient humans weren't just drinking occasionally. For huge parts of history, they were drinking every single day. The story begins in the jungle, not a bar, not a brewery, a jungle floor covered in rotting fruit. About 10 million years ago, long before modern humans existed, fruit began fermenting naturally in tropical heat. Yeast consumed sugar. Alcohol appeared automatically. Nature was brewing before humans even knew what brewing was. And then something bizarre happened. Our primate ancestors evolved a mutation that made them dramatically better at digesting ethanol, alcohol. Scientists studying human origins discovered this mutation in a digestive enzyme called ADH4. At first, the discovery made no sense. Why would evolution care about alcohol? Who was drinking before civilization? Then researchers realized something disturbing. Rotting fruit contained more calories than fresh fruit. The smell of alcohol actually helped primates locate ripe food faster in dense forests. The primates that tolerated ethanol survived better, which means one of the reasons your ancestors survived is because they were good at eating fermented fruit off the jungle floor. That's not a joke. Your relationship with alcohol may be millions of years old. But this is where the story gets weird, because humans eventually stopped finding alcohol naturally and started manufacturing it on purpose. Most people think civilization began because humans wanted stable food supplies, bread, agriculture, farming. But some archaeologists now suspect something far stranger. Humans may have invented farming partly because they wanted beer. Yes, beer history may actually come before bread history. At an archaeological site called Göbekli Tepe in modern Turkey, researchers found massive stone pillars built over 11,000 years ago. Before cities, before kingdoms, before writing. Hunter-gatherers somehow organized enough labor to move stones weighing up to 20 tons. Which raises a terrifying question. How did prehistoric humans convince hundreds of people to work together before civilization even existed? Then archaeologists found giant stone basins nearby. Some researchers believe they were used for ancient brewing methods. Early beer, imagine that. Civilization itself may have started because humans wanted to get drunk together. And honestly, that theory explains more than most people realize. Because alcohol does something incredibly powerful to the human brain. It lowers fear, builds trust, encourages storytelling, creates social bonding. In other words, the exact behaviors required to build civilization. But alcohol didn't just shape culture, it solved a deadly survival problem. Because for most of history, water could kill you. Today, water seems harmless. You turn on a faucet, done. But throughout ancient history, drinking water was dangerous. Parasites, bacteria, disease, entire communities could die from contaminated water. And ancient humans had no idea why, but they accidentally discovered something important. Fermented drinks were safer. The brewing process killed many dangerous pathogens. Even weak alcohol made liquids more stable than ordinary water, which meant ancient humans started drinking alcohol constantly, not to party, to survive. In medieval Europe, children drank weak beer every day. For breakfast, workers drank beer while building cities. Egyptian pyramid laborers were paid partly in beer rations. Some estimates suggest they drank several liters daily. Imagine building the pyramids mildly intoxicated. Sounds ridiculous, but in many places, sober water was more dangerous than alcohol. And this is where alcohol stopped being a drink and became infrastructure. Civilization literally ran on fermentation. But ancient alcohol looked nothing like modern alcohol, and that changes the entire story. When people hear drunk history, they imagine ancient humans stumbling around blackout drunk. That's not what happened. Most ancient beer was weak, very weak, often only mildly alcoholic. Ancient beverages were closer to fermented grain soup than modern beer. Thick, cloudy, full of calories. In some cultures, people drank through straws because chunks floated on top. But weak alcohol consumed constantly still changed human behavior, especially in brutal prehistoric life. Think about daily existence 5,000 years ago. No painkillers, no anesthesia, no antibiotics, predators nearby, constant labor, constant uncertainty. Alcohol softened reality, and humans became psychologically attached to it incredibly fast. Then something even stranger happened. Ancient civilizations started connecting alcohol to religion, because intoxication felt supernatural. The Sumerians, one of the earliest civilizations in world history, loved beer so much they created a goddess specifically for it, Ninkasi, and one of the oldest known beer recipes in history was hidden inside a religious hymn. Think about that. One of humanity's earliest written documents was basically a brewing tutorial disguised as a prayer. That's how important alcohol became. But alcohol's darkest effects were only beginning, because the same substance that united civilization civilizations also slowly poisoned them. Ancient Rome consumed enormous amounts of wine. Politicians drank constantly. Soldiers drank constantly. Workers drank constantly. But Roman winemaking had a hidden problem: lead. Many Roman wines were sweetened using lead containers and lead syrup. Modern researchers now suspect chronic poisoning may have affected parts of the Roman elite for generations. Mood disorders, infertility, mental decline, possibly even political instability. Historians still debate how much damage this caused, but it reveals something unsettling. Humans spent thousands of years experimenting with alcohol without understanding what it was doing to the brain. And honestly, we still are. Because alcohol survived every major civilization in history. Empires collapsed, religions changed, currencies disappeared, alcohol remained. Why? Because drinking taps into reward systems buried deep inside the human nervous system. Systems shaped long before modern society existed, possibly before humans themselves existed. And once civilization industrialized alcohol, everything escalated. For most of human history, getting drunk required time. Fermentation was slow, alcohol was weak, but then humans invented distillation, and suddenly, alcohol became dramatically stronger. Now intoxication could happen fast, very fast. This changed drinking history forever. Entire economies formed around alcohol. Governments taxed it, empires traded it, wars were financed with it. By the Industrial Revolution, alcohol had become one of the most profitable substances on Earth, and yet humans still treated drinking like something natural. Because historically, it was. For millions of years, fermentation surrounded human life. Rotting fruit, fermented honey, meat alcohol, Sumerian beer, ancient brewing. Alcohol wasn't an invention, it was part of the environment humans evolved inside, which creates a disturbing possibility. Maybe humans were never fully meant to resist alcohol. Maybe modern drinking culture isn't unnatural at all. Maybe it's ancient. And that brings us back to the beginning, back to the jungle floor, back to the rotten fruit, because the history of alcohol is really the history of being human. Long before bars existed, before breweries, before written history, nature was already producing alcohol. And eventually, one strange primate species became obsessed with it. That species was us. We built rituals around drinking, religions around drinking, economies around drinking, civilizations around drinking. Even today, humans still gather exactly the same way ancient humans gathered thousands of years ago. A group of people, a fermented drink, stories, laughter, connection. That pattern never disappeared. It only modernized. And maybe the creepiest realization of all is this. For most of human history, humans did not see alcohol as dangerous. They saw it as normal, necessary, part of survival itself. Which means the real mystery isn't why humans drink. The real mystery is this: how could a species shaped by millions of years of fermentation ever completely stop? Because from prehistoric jungles, to ancient beer, to modern cities glowing under neon lights, humanity has been chasing the exact same feeling for millions of years. And somewhere deep inside your brain, your ancient ancestors still are.